Hello and welcome to the Guitar Hang podcast. I'm your host, John Stancorb. Well, it's season 9, episode 5, and we're sitting down today with one of Los Angeles' top session guitarists, Andrew Synowiec. Andrew is a Grammy award-winning guitarist and one of the most in-demand players in Los Angeles. His work can be heard on Frozen, The Greatest Showman, Killers of the Flower Moon, Cobra Kai, Only Murders in the Building, as well as recordings with The Who, Barbra Streisand, Miley Cyrus, and Lil Nas. When he's not in the studio or scoring stage, Andrew performs his own music around the world, from Billboard Live in Tokyo to the Baked Potato in Los Angeles. So let's settle in and enjoy the conversation. This is the Guitar Hang podcast with Andrew Synowiec.
I'm well. How are you, John?
Good. Love the room.
Cool.
Looks great.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks.
Very nice. Yeah, I've just been recently listening to Fun and Second Story and Recreational, the one with
Substance.
Substance. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great stuff.
Thanks.
It seems like besides being a great player, there's something about when you hear somebody and you think, man, they're the beneficiary of having played with some really great rhythm section. That's the one thing I was struck by, is that your time feel is just really, it's very contagious and fun.
Oh, cool. Well, thank you for that.
Yeah. So that's the great thing about having a career that allows you to traverse between the session stuff, where it might be a high pressure thing of getting a call saying, hey, we need something in a couple hours or by tomorrow. You have that world and creative, but a little bit higher pressure. And then you have the gigging thing. And if you can, and then having your own project where you can go out and tour, that has to be a wonderful marriage, or
For sure.
confluence of
Yeah,
all the influences.
absolutely. And it's funny the way the two worlds actually kind of propel each other and overlap in really beautiful ways.
Yeah, the my curiosity is that you grew up on the East Coast, and we probably were. I might be a little bit older, but we were influenced at a period of time where it seemed like it was maybe arguably one of the most vibrant things for the guitar hero. You know, Joe Satriani, Steve Vai, Eric Johnson, Steve Morse. Those four kind of come to mind because right around that period you had Surfing with the Alien, Flying in a Blue Dream,
Yep. Absolutely. That was
Avia
my,
Musicom, and then High Tension Wires.
for
Uh,
sure.
those
Yeah.
four
It's funny,
albums.
when the day you wrote me, I was actually listening to the Steve Morse interview. So it was like serendipity. So
Yeah,
great.
he's such a sweetheart of a guy. It's always fun when your heroes turn out to be everything that you had wanted them to. And I got to have thank him. I don't want to make this about me, but just to prove a point that what a sweetheart of a guy. Back on that tour, I went to see him in Dayton. I grew up in Cincinnati. He was doing a performance, but I'd heard that he had done a clinic that I had missed, and he said, "Well," I met him after the show. He said, "I'm doing a show in Chicago, and I'm also doing a clinic at a guitar center." So I did that planes, trains, and automobiles thing. I had a rickety car back in the late 80s or what, 89, I guess. Made it to the clinic and found out the tickets for the show at the Park West were sold out. And I ran into him as he was walking through the crowd, and he found out I didn't have a ticket. So he handed me his little kind of an
Backstage
SKB
pass kind
soft
of thing.
rack thing and said, "You'll be my roadie for the evening." So I felt
Oh,
like
it's great.
an MTV contest winner. And all those years later, my wife and I got to have a meal with him at this G4 thing, the Joe Satriani thing in Las Vegas, and thank him for that, because it was his words of encouragement planted seeds that, to this day I'm thankful for.
I had a similar thing with him actually. The week that I had to decide where to go to school, he was giving a clinic, and so of course I went and asked him about his time in Miami, and I pretty much was already headed that direction, but
Yeah.
he really sealed the deal for me there.
Yeah. Would that have been maybe around that time, like 89, 90-ish.
This would have been the late 90s for
Oh,
me.
late
Yeah.
90s for you. Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, so it's interesting because in that period of time with those albums, there were four distinct voices, Steve and Joe being a little bit more similar to one another. But
Yeah.
the,
It's interesting. I always say, like, I was born at a good time for guitar, not only because of the Guitar Hero thing, but also because of the grunge thing and the kind
right,
of cool, like, alt rock of the 90s. And I wasn't old enough to understand that that was a reaction to the more, like, kind of polished, almost like hair metal stuff that came before it. And
right,
it kind of embraced both equally. And it ended up, I mean, I still love all that kind of music. And it ended up, of course, really helping me down the road as a player, that where people are asking you, like, we just need some like kid in a garage stuff. Okay, but now we need some like crazy solo stuff.
right.
To have that sort of in my musical DNA, it just kind of really has helped. And it wasn't like this pre-planned kind of thing. It just, happened that way,
Yeah.
the birth lottery, I guess you would say.
Yeah, right. Well, you bring up a great point because as a session player, uh, you're in the last 10, 15 years, you're probably going to have references. Can you make it more like Mudhoney? Can you make it more like, whatever, whatever the grunge band, more
Right.
Soundgarden or
And it's been really interesting to watch, like, from when I first hit, I guess, quote unquote, the scene as a working guitar player over the last couple of decades now, which is crazy to say, but to see how what people ask for, and what when they go, we need something really, contemporary, like, fill in the blank. It's
right.
funny to see how that changes over time. And you see, like, why careers, I guess, I don't know, maybe have the arc that they do, because musical styles go out of style, come back, go out again, come back again. It's, yeah, really interesting.
Yeah, I would say the best thing that you can have besides just a lot of gigs under your belt and schooling, certainly, but just being a fan of so many different styles of music and not putting everything into little boxes like, okay, I like this, but I can't like that because I like this. Just being open to everything, taking it all in, and the only value judgment you place is it my taste? Is it not? It still might be cool to
Right.
somebody, but that's a huge thing for to that goes into
You know,
being a
I can
studio
usually
player.
find something to like about just about any kind of music. It might be maybe there's no guitar on it, but the lyrics are cool, or the way that the drum syncopation is, rhythmically set up is interesting. It's not straight, it's not swung, it's somewhere in between, you know.
Yeah. Was there a point for you where you had aspirations of maybe doing, since you're a fan of the solo guitarist, the instrumental guitar thing, that you thought maybe you would go that direction, and then was it school or something else that led you into the session world? Or
Well, I mean, I kind of did go that direction. It's just I also got pulled by the love of just making music and making people happy through the guitar,
right,
which is really how I look at studio playing these days. You know, it's like, hey, we're making this thing. You bring something to it that can make it, we're trying to paint this wall blue, and we like your palette of paint. So can you help us make it more blue? You know what I mean? That's
right.
sort of what my job is in that world, and I really enjoy it. And so I don't necessarily, I mean, in some ways, I guess what you're asking is, do you feel like distracted by all these different, um, lanes? And possibly, but again, I think they sort of inform each other and help each other out in a way.
Right. Was it something that I'm sure you were probably transcribing some of your favorite stuff, or if not writing it down, just taking it in and learning it, the you know licks, solos. It could be jazz, it could be rock, whatever it might be. But
For
did you
sure.
also
Yeah.
did you also have a keen sense of, because this seems like something that not every player has. In fact, maybe guitar players are guilty of not having their ears in tune to be able to identify certain frequencies that would help you engineer your own recordings, or in the studio being able to pick out sonically what's happening and how to, like when you're creating tracks, how to sculpt things that sit neatly in the mix of
Right.
things.
Yeah. I mean, I think that the whole like frequency and things in a mix is really more about what you're playing, what is the musical content of what you're adding, more than like a technical what frequency. Like, like I see all these, oh, I got new XYZ amp and used it with my band this weekend and it really cuts through the mix or whatever. And it's like where you're playing has more to do with that than
Right.
like there's a like I'm hypothetically there's a song and somebody wants you to play something and you're like, oh, I mean, I've gone through this, like, man, I really want to add something that where the guitar doesn't get buried when I hear the mix later. And really that's about finding a spot where the guitar can sit and do something that
Right.
either you're doubling something that's already there or you're adding something in the perfect spot, like pitch wise, more so than
Right.
necessarily frequency wise, although certainly they're related, can be. So I feel like it's more about coming up with something creative that's either totally going with the flow or maybe even going against it that someone didn't expect. And now that becomes, you know, I guess if we zoom out, what we're talking about is like thinking like a producer, even though you're quote unquote just a guitar player in the room that day.
Right. Was there a like seminal studio guitarist beside, I think I know part of the answer, that Larry Carlton was a huge influence, but were the Jay Gradens, the Steve Lukather's, the Dean Parks, were were you
You know,
seeking out that
honestly,
kind of stuff?
I love those guys, and I've been so fortunate to meet actually all of them and work with a few of those names. But if we're talking about like again, like my musical DNA, it really is not that at all. Um,
Yeah.
Checking those guys out kind of happened much later in life when I decided to move to LA. It was like really more from the standpoint of like, okay, I missed all that stuff. I better see what were they doing, Uh, as a quote unquote studio player, like one of my biggest influences was a guy in Miami actually named Dan Warner. He just gave me like all these pearls of wisdom. Just, I mean, so many uh, just great pieces of wisdom that he dropped on me, and either records to check out or just more like real world stuff where I'd be in a situation that maybe didn't go well, and then I would call in and he would talk me off the ledge and say, "Well, next time try this."
Right.
Um, so those kind of like people that I interacted with, at my formative years were really the most influential.
Yeah, because it seems like he was, besides being a mentor, he probably had some real world experience, these pearls of wisdom that you could instantly see some
Right.
results and be like, oh man, that was that hugely insightful for me as
Yeah, I
well.
was really lucky in that I sort of was able to get in at the very, very tail end of that big Latin pop boom that was happening in Miami. And there was just a very small little window that I was able to crawl through and do a little bit of, the last days of like the big budget recordings and all that kind of thing. And watch that whole process from like, hey, we have a demo and you work on it maybe for days and then it goes through the pipeline and then 6 months a year later I go to whatever Tower Records was still around back then and you actually buy it and put it on and hear it and to that kind of like experience of like being there in the room and then seeing it come out the other end is pretty you just learn a lot by doing it, you know, and
Right.
seeing that kind of old school way of how things were created. And kind of like a lot of it is like being there in the room when it's getting recorded and your guitar is like the loudest thing and there's like it's like this orchestra of guitars because it's all layered and then you go and buy it in Tower Records and put it on in your car and it's like, huh, I think I'm on that. You know, I think there's guitar. And okay, well, how do we not have that happen again? You know, um, that's a whole different kind of, you know, can of worms in a way.
Yeah, I think that you, when you think about if you've never done a lot of studio stuff, your thought would be that you're going to be the featured person every time, the featured instrument every time out, kind of like a marquee player, a wide receiver kind of thing. Like every play is about you. And then you get into the studios, a real studio situation, and you realize, well, I'm just there to kind of sonically serve the song and whatever I can do, whatever that might be, I'm going to do that thing to benefit the song.
Yeah.
But when you're younger and you hear about studio guys, you just think, you know, that the door opens and then the fog rolls out and then your favorite studio guy walks in and guy hands him a guitar and he plays something amazing. You know, it's this fantasy that you build up. Because I always, before I would get to interview or talk to or read about these studio guys, I what I had built up in my mind is what it was not at all what it turned out to be.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, a lot of that is just kind of, you know, growing up and having reality hit you in the face and just, you know,
Yeah,
figuring everything out. But it's actually been really great. And again, like in a way, like that's why I do have like I can go play at the baked potato and play too loud and play too many notes if I want. You know,
right.
so I get it out of my system there.
Yeah, yeah. I'd gotten to see some clips of you and Oz play, and just some you and Tim, and yeah, it's got to be a very gratifying thing to be able to do all those things or go out and tour supporting your own project. That's
It's really fun. It's interesting, like all of that stuff. It's like whatever the new thing you're doing that you weren't doing last week is,
yeah.
it just feels like, oh, this is such a huge breath of fresh air. And then, of course, a week into that, you're like, okay, I can't wait to go back, you know, to whatever the thing I had been doing is. So
Right. Yeah. Uh, when you're, I've checked out a few interviews recently, and I've heard you talk about picking up some guitar, like the Alex Lifeson Epiphone guitar that you picked up at your
sure,
local mom and pop shop. When you're when you're finding guitars, I mean, obviously we love the tactile nature of how something feels and the way it's designed. We will, you know, if you're checking it out at a store, you maybe will plug it in a little bit, but it seems like the older you get, the less desire that you have to want to make a ridiculous noise, you know, practicing thrill licks when you're checking out a potential guitar you're going to buy. Do you find that you can tell pretty quickly sonically if it's going to if this particular guitar is going to add something to your overall arsenal that you don't have?
well, you know, it's funny. I bought this instrument called a dambao. This is not exactly answering your question, maybe, but I went to this like folk music shop to buy something else, and I saw this instrument. And it's literally just one string
Yeah.
across a long kind of soundboard with almost like a archaic like wooden whammy bar on one end,
Oh yeah.
and uh, and there's a pickup actually. And I thought, oh man, this thing's gonna be great. I'm gonna use it on so much stuff. And that was maybe 12 years ago.
Yeah.
And finally, last week I used it and it was great. It was perfect.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I kept, you know, the story used to be See, sometimes you just buy stuff and you think it's going to be great and then it's not. But now the story is sometimes you buy stuff you think it's going to be great and it is. So you just never know with instruments, you know. Um, it's I find that it's actually hard to kind of predict. And the other thing to your question, I heard a long time ago, if you pick up an instrument, like if you're in a store and you're like, wow, look at that 335 or whatever, and you pick it up, if you don't fall in love with it in the first 10 seconds,
Yeah.
you're probably never gonna like fall in love with it. And I've that seems to be true in my experience.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, when I think about the guitars that I have, there's the the ones that mean the most to me. That's exactly what happened. I knew from the first second that I played, I was like, okay, this is it was
Yeah.
amazing.
You kind of go like, uh-oh.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I had I tour with the Pink Floyd tribute group, and I had been looking to get something other than a standard Strat, like a Gilmore's, because I've got the black Gilmore Strat, but I wanted
Right.
something that had a humbucker, and I wanted to get something really nice, and I tried the Mateus Asado Sur guitar, and from the moment I played the first, I was like, I've got to have this. What have I done?
Yeah.
I'm spending a lot of money on this, but it was you knew I just knew right away. So to your point, that's so true. When you fall in love, you know that it's going to be something that you're going to use on a regular basis. But
Yeah.
it would seem like um, it's nice to have things at your disposal. I got to see a bit of the clip where you were kind of demonstrating what you had done for the NBA theme, um,
Yeah.
and the different layered parts. And I was like, man, that's so cool to kind of hear how these things end up sonically happen, because I don't know that I would, unless I listened to it quite maybe on headphones, that I would have quite picked out all those different things and what they were, unless I was had to transcribe it. But when I was listening to the parts, I was like, oh man, that's really very you kind of have to be able to forecast pretty far down the road how these things are going to interact with each other and how they're going to complement each other. But I thought that was a really great explanation or display of how these instruments can sit well together and provide something really cool for a track.
Oh, cool. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, a lot of that comes from just thinking about whatever it is you're doing. Almost like, okay, I'm the whole orchestra, so let's do the basses, let's do the violas, let's do the trumpets, and whatever that means sonically to an electric guitar.
Right.
Thinking of just almost getting back to your other question about how to find the right frequency range. It's also like the musical range.
Yeah. Are there
The
any?
two are really married,
Yeah.
like the
Right.
sound of the instrument and the part in a way.
Yeah. Are there players that were huge influences that kind of are not often named? I mean, you had mentioned your mentor back in
Yeah. You
University
know
of
who I
Miami.
love for that kind of thinking is Michael Thompson. The way that he just does these layers,
Yes. Yeah.
it's really, really beautiful. The whole kind of overall picture that he paints. It's amazing.
Yeah. He has a special. I was lucky enough to have a conversation with him, but he was talking about this old TC Electronics piece that, or maybe it was an Eventide. I can't. I have to go back and watch. But it was this special setting that he had found, and he got the thing just for this thing. But as soon as he started playing it, it was like just these. I don't even know what superlative to use, but it was like
Yeah.
that's his sound. I mean, that's
Right.
just really beautiful, sparkly, airy, ambient
Yeah.
thing. But yeah, he does that quite beautifully.
He's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. Uh, what I was curious, are there players that are not often name checked that you that have been an influence that many people may be surprised or not really know about these
Oh
players?
man, that's a good question. I always it's like I'm as soon as we hang up, I'll think of like 10
Yeah,
names, but right now it's like I'm almost, I don't want to forget someone, you know what I mean?
right.
But well, I've been so lucky to work side by side with George Deering here in LA.
Yeah.
He's probably like the single, busiest studio player on any instrument. I mean, probably for the last few decades. And it's like you can watch all the YouTube videos. You could get to the end of the internet watching instructional videos, and maybe get something out of that, but it's not the same as just sitting next to someone
Right.
and watching and being in the room and understanding it, just seeing it happen in real time. And I've just learned so much from him. It's been incredible.
Yeah, and the things that Dean Parks was mentioning him in a couple of sessions, the things that he's able to do in any given situation or session, and his intonation and his time is just impeccable. But he makes it like you're saying, when you're in the room watching it go down, it looks like it's like you
Effortless.
just
Yeah.
doing the crossword puzzle.
Just having fun. Yeah.
Yeah, just having fun, just taking it easy, and yeah. And I think Dean is that way too. Puts down
Yep.
these amazing parts on lap steel or pedal steel, acoustic fingerstyle stuff, and everything is just has such a purity to it. It just makes you wonder, man, how is he able to coax such great tone out of the instrument? And I had to ask him when he came to town and started doing uh, work on acoustic, had he practiced a lot of that? And he said he really had worked on his left and right hand. I mean, left hand specific exercises, right hand thing, and he really woodshedded quite a bit because he knew that that would be a calling card because that was not something that everybody was, people were seeking.
Yeah.
He knew that that would be something that would a arrow in his quiver, so to speak,
Right. For
that would
sure.
set
Yeah.
him apart. So,
It
with that
certainly
said,
has too. He's definitely, people definitely, love him for that. I mean, among many other things.
yeah. Uh, do you do much in the world of lap steel or pedal steel, slide guitar? Are you a fan of?
Lap steel and slide guitar, yes. I have not gone down the pedal steel rabbit hole yet.
Yeah,
So, yeah, there's not enough hours in the day.
yeah. Uh, do you have guitars that are set up? Some folks will just, studio guys will have specific go-to guitars like that, maybe like a Cooter Caster type guitar that's set up just for slide guitar, or do
I
you have
do, yeah. I
guitars?
have actually my old 335. It's really heavy, and so it has a lot of sustain. And actually, the action just kind of gradually crept up over the years, and it sort of has become relegated to my slide guitar, and it works really well for that.
Yeah. Do you ring finger, pinky ring finger? How?
I'm a ring finger guy. That's just
Yeah,
how I learned, and I've tried to switch occasionally over the years, like sometimes in a live setting, if there it's like, oh man, it'd be great to just be able to continuously play this next thing, but I can never. It's really ring finger for me.
yeah,
No.
yeah. Me as well. And I would love to be able to use my pinky and do some fretting behind the slide like Sonny Landreth, but it I just can't get the same kind of nuance that I can on my ring finger. And
Yeah, I'm the same way, and I mean that's in the category of like maybe one day, maybe I'll make that a thing. It's just that's the great thing about the guitar. I think I've heard Dean say this. It's like you never go, okay, I learned everything. Like I got to the end of it.
yeah,
It just, I mean, it's the frustrating thing too, but it's like every day it seems like there's some uh in addition to all the other stuff that you have to get better at. There's like you see like some new player that's like
yeah,
fretboard is on fire.
yeah. Is there anything that's uh, maybe something just a little bit down the road that's a passion project that you could foresee that would scratch that itch that you've really wanted to do for a long time, but just for whatever reason haven't been able to quite get the time together to do something like that?
I mean, yeah, there's so many, like I used to play a lot more classical guitar and solo guitar, and then I just like I used to play, it was great actually. Growing up, I grew up in a town that was just kind of the right size for me in terms of like as a high school kid, I was working like maybe three, sometimes more, like 3 or 4 nights a week, or like 2 nights and Sunday mornings
Yeah.
every week. I had like these standing gigs as a solo guitar player. I would just sit in the corner and play standards or even like some classical standards kind of things. I don't know if that's a term, but well-known classical guitar pieces. And that was a really great experience, not only from a guitar, nuts and bolts perspective, but just working musician kind of stuff. Um, so, but I sort of have gotten away from that over the years. So yeah, I do think about like it would be great to just have find some place nearby where I could just go in and play and not tell anyone and sort of work that muscle again.
Yeah. Were there players that were influential as nylon string players or classical players?
There was the guitarist John Williams, not the composer, but
Right. Yeah.
the British guitar player John Williams did an album of all Barrios music,
Hmm.
and I mean I wore that thing out. It's just like so beautiful.
Yeah.
He's incredible, and yeah, he's sort of like low hanging fruit, I think, in terms of like the people that are really way in that world. Uh, I think they have like this weird hierarchy, but for me, like just kind of, I think my teacher at the time was like, "Here, check out this record," and it was just like really hit me at the right time, and still that music is just so incredible. All
Yeah.
those solo guitar pieces.
Is that something that you've you've been able to use like on doing a live Emmys or Grammys or a television program where you're able to go between electric and nylon string or steel
Yeah, for
string?
sure. I mean, really more just in the studio. Like, there's a lot of these kind of ballad things that you end up playing where it's just you and the vocal for a long time. Almost that thing that Dean was talking about, where it's like super exposed and every natural squeak that the instrument does, it's like
Right.
you hear on the talkback, "Hey, what's that? Hey, we need to go in for this." Like
Right.
that's the sound of the instrument, but people often don't want to hear that. So yeah, just in terms of, I mean, I certainly don't claim to be like a classical guitar player, but at least getting you over the initial fear of like, wow, it's just me and this thing,
Right.
and no pedals and no amps. It was really really good for that. I mean, and I still love that music and still practice a lot on nylon string and work on that kind of stuff.
Yeah. What you just said there made me think that it would be as you're starting to move into the session world, just not, I mean, you know that as you're going in, it's going to be quite a few steps more of you because you're under the proverbial microscope and everything that you play has to be accounted for in time and in tune and intonated and all that kind of stuff. But I think for the average guitar player that has not really done much in the session world, it would be very surprising. And I don't see a lot of um, discussion, and maybe there is, I haven't seen it on YouTube, of kind of a glimpse of what it's like on a session. I've seen a couple of Brent Mason things where he's in this, he'll post some things on Instagram of him being in the studio laying something down, but a
Right.
high pressure thing
It's
where
really hard. I've thought about this myself, and it's just hard I think it would be impossible to capture because, first of all, in those kind of situations, no one wants cameras in their faces. But also, like, I don't know if that it's just really hard to make that like translate over,
right.
without being in the room. Just that level of, I don't know, energy exchange between the forces of nature there in the room.
Yeah, it might be one of those things where it boils down to, it's you kind of have to experience it firsthand to really know what the thing, because it's probably not what an outsider thinks it is. You know,
Right. Yeah.
it's a very, every tune is different, every situation is different, and you're just, and that's the beauty of what you're called to do, is being very flexible and malleable and magnanimous, doing things that maybe you don't exactly love, but you're just there to serve. It's kind of the Lee Sklar things. He
Yeah.
says, I'm here to be a cheerleader for the producer and for the people around me and elevate the entire session. He said, that's kind of what I got from uh, Lee was saying.
Yeah.
He kind of got that
He's
from
so
Jeff
great at that.
Porcaro.
It's
Yeah.
yeah. I did something with him a long time ago, and it was one of these things where like it was all overwritten. And he's really more of just like this incredible like groove player. I mean, like when you think of like Lee, it's like you think of all those great records he did,
Right.
not necessarily like this crazy complicated music, but he ended up on this session because the people wanted him because they were huge fans and he was available, so he said yes. And it was really like very complicated music, and he actually took the part home. It was like a 3-day session or whatever, and like after the first day, he there was one particular part that he took home, practiced it, and came back the next day like, hey, can I come in an hour early or 15 minutes early and just get that whatever. It was only like 8 bars or 16 bars or whatever. But I just thought that was so cool that like he certainly didn't have to do that. A guy like Lee Sklar, I mean,
Right.
with his reputation
Sure.
and yet he just, and it wasn't like, ooh, look at me, I'm being all diligent. He just took that much, pride in what he does. And that really made an impact on me. And another guy that I saw do that is Greg Bissonette, uh, incredible drummer.
Yeah.
Actually, another guy that I grew up, like hearing on Joe Satriani
Yeah.
albums, for example.
Yeah.
We did like this huge like show production thing where it's like a couple days of rehearsal and then the big show. And same thing. We do the first hour rehearsal and it's like, okay, we're gonna take a 10, and everybody else goes and gets coffee. And he's like, okay, where was that? And I see him like rearranging his music and looking back. He's got the metronome out, like, okay, there's this
Yeah.
crazy tempo change from the like bar 89 to bar 90. And he's just sitting there practicing. It's like, Greg, you nailed it. You don't,
Right.
but I mean, that's why they are what they are.
Yeah, and it's that, and I guess for guys like you or Greg or Lee, it's the hang and just who you are as people, that it's magnetism, that sort of thing, because there's such a, when you love what you do and you're there to serve the song and you love the people that it seems like there's a winnowing process where the people that really aren't best suited for studio work probably don't end up there for very long. It's talent that gets you there, but it's the interaction and how you work with other people to keep you there and have people love you. Or as Lee would say, when he would come to a session, he would see certain people's road cases like, oh man, this is going to be great. Because
Right.
not only I know are we going to make great music, but I love this person. This is so cool. This is, so when you have that kind of energy, whether it's you or Greg or who, it just makes what you do that much more, because it's not every day is
Yeah,
going
it's
to be
infectious,
perfect,
you
but it
can
is
feel it in the
infectious,
room.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah. Do you get many requests to do any kind of teaching of any kind? Do people reach out to you and say, "Hey, could I get a Skype lesson? Could I get a whatever?"
Yeah, occasionally. It's really hard to do this. I mean, I guess I haven't really tried to do the Skype lesson thing, to be honest. It just
Yeah.
doesn't seem like um, something, it's not as appealing to me as just in the room. Or really, what I do more of is like, let's just go get coffee and, because there's so much information about,
Right.
okay, A minor, put your finger, like, and none of,
Right.
to me, like, there's people that could provide that information better than I could.
Right.
So, but I'd love to like, I guess mentor younger players. It's weird to say that now, but yeah, that's kind of the role I'm in at this point. So I love doing that kind of thing. And I actually did more of just like a general like music life zoom out kind of call with somebody recently, where we didn't even, there was no guitars in hand kind of thing, but it was more like, hey, where can I go kind of thing. And that was really enjoyable for me as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, there's such a I don't want to use the word glut may not be the best word to use, but there's such a vast ocean of information on YouTube. But the
Yeah.
students that I teach and I also do some adult band programs through School of Rock. Uh, it seems like it's more confusing in some ways because there's so much
Yeah.
stuff. I
It's like
remember,
just pick one lane and do
yeah,
that for a while and really
yes,
understand it. And then go, yeah, it's like you're flooded like with all this stuff. And if you don't just master one thing, you're just going to be treading water. I will say also, I just realized I have a buddy who kind of like he's a great player and like a working player and but he like never really went down like this super like jazz bow nerd
hmm,
phase. And I've actually been making him just little videos like he'll ask me like, "Hey, what do you know, it could be anything." And I'll just like real quick like, "Oh, like over this chord you could do this."
yeah,
And that's been really fun too. So I do enjoy it. It's just sometimes the constraints of like a formal system uh I just feel it's slightly constraining, I guess.
yeah,
I'm actually thinking about doing and I'm not sure what it would look like exactly, but almost like some kind of like guitar weekend thing. I actually took a recording workshop just to kind of like keep the juices flowing, keep the brain in gear
yeah,
a few years ago with this guy who's a friend, Joe Barisi.
yeah.
He's a producer here. And I thought, I'd like to do something like that, but more guitar centric. So I'm thinking about what that might look like maybe next year over
Yeah.
like a Saturday, Sunday or something. But I appreciate you so much having me on, and man, it's like incredible to hear my name next to all these heroes of mine. It's
Well,
a beautiful
yeah,
thing that you're doing, John.
cool. All right, man. Thank you so
All right.
much. Really enjoyed talking and checking out your music. It's amazing.
Thanks so much, John. I appreciate it. Let me know if you need anything else after this.
All right. Sounds good. Thanks so much.
Cool.
Bye.
All right, I'll see you in January.
See you then. Bye.
Okay. Bye.
Well, that's it for today's episode of the Guitar Hang podcast. A huge thanks to Andrew Synowiec for joining us and for giving us a glimpse into the life of one of LA's top session guitarists. If you enjoyed the conversation, be sure to follow the show and leave a review. It really helps others discover the Guitar Hang podcast. You can keep up with Andrew's latest projects, performances, and recordings at andrewsynowiec.com. Thanks for listening, and until next time, keep playing, keep creating, and we'll see you soon.